At the beginning of the drama, we see a girl telling a story to a child about a girl who possesses seldom-seen powers, capable of reading a person's mind by looking into their eyes. Next, we see our female lead, Yuri, the CEO of a chocolate company. Her company makes coffee from cacao husk, which other companies discard. We see that she has a deep passion for chocolate. As Yuri enters the company's store, a customer arrives with her daughter, who insists on eating chocolate. As she looks into the customer's eyes, she can hear his thoughts. She realizes that the customer doesn't have the budget to buy chocolate for her daughter, and she has cavities. So Yuri recommends chocolates with plant-based sweeteners, which are within his budget. Both the customer and her daughter are delighted to learn this. Then, a scene from 12 years ago is shown when Yuri, along with her dad, arrived at Cape Kdrama. They spotted sea turtles in the ocean. In an attempt to get a closer look, Yuri jumped into the sea. After that incident, she acquired telepathic powers, allowing her to look into people's eyes and hear their thoughts. At first, she was very confused and hurt by knowing people's inner thoughts. However, gradually, she utilized this power a little and realized that these powers aren't so bad. Her colleague, Mahiro, asks her why she doesn't have a boyfriend and whether she's waiting for her childhood suit. Yuri says that's nothing, and we learn that because of this power, she's unable to love anyone. Now, as she's on her way home, we see a lot of bubbles floating on the road, which she stops to look at. But then she was feeling hungry, so she ordered food. From there, we see our male lead on the terrace. The person blowing these bubbles is Hyuntae. He delivers Yuri's food. In it, he writes a note suggesting Korean food. He also drew an otter. The next day, while Yuri is at the company, she is carrying some groceries and accidentally drops a scrub bag from her desk. She starts picking it up and starts telling everyone about this small thing. Seeing this, Jang gives her a snack bar, which she sits down to eat. After eating it, when she calms down, she thanks Jang for it. Here, he tells her that if we install those hanging trash cans, it will be much more expensive. We should put these cans under the table, she agrees, thanking him for his excellent handling of the company's finances. When they arrive home after work, she's feeling hungry and orders the Korean food recommended by Hyuntae, which she finds very tasty. He had also recommended another Korean food to her, so she orders that too and writes him a thank you note for the recommendation. As Hyuntae goes to place his order, he reads the note, which also features an otter Yuri had drawn, which he finds cute. He then recommends another food to her, leaving. Yuri watched from behind the gate. After he leaves, she collects her food and searches for the recommended food, which she finds very appealing. The next day, Yuri is with Mahiro. It's tea time at the restaurant, where they are eating the recommended food. Mahiro is talking to her, but Yuri is busy eating. Seeing this, Mahiro asks, "Are you even listening to me or not?" Yuri says that she doesn't have a boyfriend, so she can't relate to what she's saying. Then Mahiro, while eating, says that this food is very tasty. Yuri tells her that a food delivery guy recommends food in a note, which is very tasty. However, Mahiro starts saying that maybe this is suspicious, but she doesn't believe in suspicions. In the next scene, Yuri is at home when she receives a message that her food order has been canceled. She was very hungry, which makes her very angry. She tries to order food from another place, but there was a long wait. So she opens her fridge, but there was nothing to eat. So she quickly leaves. But then she realizes that it was raining outside. She still goes out to eat, but she accidentally collides with Hyuntae, who saves her from falling and looks into her eyes. Boo then water from his raincoat accidentally splashes on Yuri's face, for which he apologizes. Then Yuri reads the note in his hand. "My bicycle slipped in the rain and the food spilled. Sorry for the inconvenience." Seeing this, Yuri asks, "Are you my food delivery guy?" Hyuntae replies, "Yes, and I think you'd be a customer too." He knows a little Japanese, and Yuri seems to be very angry when he sees her. So he tries to explain the situation, but Yuri starts to leave. He says it's raining heavily outside and it would be dangerous to go now. But she says she's very hungry, and she gets very angry whenever she's hungry. Seeing this, he asks her if she likes sundobu. Yuri says yes, she likes it very much. He asks her to wait for 5 minutes and leaves. He then brings the dish from his apartment and offers it to her. To allay Yuri's suspicions, he tastes the dish himself first. He gives her all his information. He tells her that he's from Korea and has been living in Japan for 2 years. He also shows her his university ID card and tells her that he lives in an apartment nearby. Then he hands the dish to Yuri and leaves. As Yuri tastes it, she remembers old times when she tells her dad that she doesn't like coffee but chocolate. Her dad tells her that both are made by cacao, but how it's used depends on whether it's sweet or bitter. Life is like that. Its sweetness and bitterness depend on how we live our lives. Remembering all this, she happily eats the dish. Meanwhile, Hyuntae arrives at his home, where his mother's photo is hung. He was also very hungry, but he gave his food to Yuri, and he remembers Yuri's angry face. Here, Yuri considers Hyuntae a god. She thinks his thoughts are in Korean, which is why she couldn't read them. In the next scene, Hyuntae goes to his college, where he learns that he's majoring in wildlife preservation. He takes out Yuri's reply note from his bag and looks at it again, as it was the first time a customer had replied to him. His friend Guk Soo tells him that she must be a good customer, but he remembers Yuri's terrible face again. He says, "I don't know." Just then, their professor arrives and reads the note. "A delicious meal gets you an energy charge." He says, "This is what your mom used to do." In the next scene, a sample arrives at Yuri's company for Valentine's Day. They check it out, then Yuri remembers Hyun-tae. She asks her friend, Mahiro, "Are you free this evening? I need some advice from you." In the next scene, the two are deciding. Yuri checks which chocolate she should give him as a thank you for the sundubu dish. She finds out that on this day in Korea, girls give chocolate to their crushes. Yuri is now deciding between two chocolates and finally decides it's better to give her a botanical soap instead of chocolates. After that, she goes to Hyun-tae's apartment, where he apologizes as soon as he sees her, wondering if he's made another mistake. But she says she only came to return his box and thank him. She had also brought soap for him, and he asked her to stop. A little while later, he brought the same soap and told her that he also uses it, and that he blew bubbles with it yesterday. He then took her to the terrace and showed her the soap. He explained that it was an eco-friendly soap. Yuri retorted that she hoped other companies would also make similar eco-friendly products. Hyun-tae then asked her if she would like to eat something. We then see Hyun-tae cooking for her, and Yuri was feeling uncomfortable. She was about to leave, but he stopped her by showing her the dish. As she looked at the food, he asked her if she was angry, and she said loudly, "I'm not angry." He was now wondering why she wasn't eating it. He thought that maybe she was suspecting him, so he first tastes everything. He pretends everything is fine, which makes her laugh, and she starts eating, which she finds very tasty. Seeing this, Hyun-tae remembers old times when he was little, and his mother used to cook, and he smiles at the sight. Yuri asks why he's smiling, and he says, "Because I'm very happy. I'm eating with someone after a long time." After eating, Yuri thanks him and says that the food was very tasty. So he tells her, "Now I understand why you get angry when you're hungry." Then he asks her if she likes kimchi, and she says yes. He asks if she likes spicy or less spicy food, and she says she can't handle very spicy food. Then his eyes fall on the reply note on the board. He tells her that she's the first customer who replied to him, and that she likes otters very much. He's researching creatures that will become extinct in the future. Yuri asks why he's focusing specifically on otters. He says there's no specific reason, he just likes them a lot. He asks if she likes them too. Yuri says yes. So he gives her an otter stuffed animal and says, "Then we're both alike," which Yuri finds very innocent. In the next scene, Yuri is at his company, where she asks Jang, "Do I get angry when I'm hungry?" He says yes. Yuri says, "Since when?" Jang replies, "Since I've known you." Yuri replies, "That means since college? Have you told me about this?" He says, "You never asked." He tells her, "You don't understand yourself, whereas you know everyone. Your perspective and rational choices have made this company so." She has saved many lives, and this is a great strength for an entrepreneur. Then Yuri gets a call from the Harmony Care Center, and she quickly goes there. We learn that her father, whose entire body was paralyzed, is admitted there. Yuri used to communicate with him by listening to his thoughts. Then, we learn that when she gained her abilities 12 years ago, her father's body stopped working. We then see the accident scene in which Yuri gets so excited after seeing a sea otter that she jumps into the sea to see it. Her father also jumps in to save her, but because the water was too cold, he suffers a stroke. He has been hospitalized ever since. Yuri cries profusely and apologizes to him. From that day on, she hears her father's inner thoughts. Father says, "I'm glad nothing happened to you." Yuri tells him, "I can hear you." Now Yuri needed money for her father's treatment, so she decided to use this power to save her company. On the way, she meets a nurse who says, "Your dad is lucky to have a daughter like you." Then Yuri hears the nurse's inner thoughts, where she says, "Every rich girl invests so much money in an incubus condition. I feel very sorry for this girl." Hearing this, Yuri becomes sad. Now, as she was going home, she saw Hyun-tae on the terrace. He calls out to her and asks her to wait. He goes downstairs and tells her that it's his last day at work. If you're free, come with him. Then we see Yuri on her terrace with him. He shows her how to use the cleaning machine, so she starts cleaning. Just then, Hyun-tae finds an endangered leaf, which he shows her. Seeing it, she gets back to cleaning, but then Hyun-tae starts looking into his eyes. Seeing this, Yuri covers her face. She sits down with her head on the ground. He straightens her up, and she covers her face with her hand, but he removes her hands. Yuri pulls him closer, telling him not to look into her eyes. Just then, all the leaves collected in the machine start falling on them. A romantic scene ensues. Yuri, seeing this, apologizes for adding to the workload, but he says, "What a beautiful scene." Yuri starts looking at him too. He says that just a while ago there were so many leaves to clean, but now it's such a beautiful scene. Yuri thanks him, but he tells her that you seem like a different person every time. I want to know more about you. Hearing this, she quickly gets up and leaves. Then Hyuntae asks if she'll join him for dinner tomorrow night, but she refuses. He asks if rice or noodles, and Yuri says rice. He asks about her preferences, and Yuri says yes and says goodnight. She starts leaving, but then she looks back and sees that she can hear his thoughts, but she can't understand them. He's telling her not to go, but Yuri remembers an old rejection. When she told her boyfriend that she could read minds, he told her that she was terrible. So Yuri goes home and looks at Hyuntae's notes. She removes them from the board and puts them in a drawer. Here, Hyuntae is also looking at her reply note. The next day, when Yuri is inside the company, she finds a leave from last night in her bag. She was looking at it when a new intern joins her office, Hyuntae. As soon as he sees her, he says, I knew we'd meet again. Jang introduces Hyuntae to Yuri and tells him that she's the CEO of their company. Surprised, he says, Yuri Mayato? You're the CEO of this company. Hearing this, Jang asks Yuri if they know each other. Hyuntae says, yes, we're good friends, but Yuri denies it, saying, he's a delivery boy who comes to deliver food. Jang tells Yuri that he'll work here as an intern for 2 months, and if there are no issues, they'll give him a permanent position in the company. He focuses on the fact that there are no issues. Then, Jang takes Hyuntae to introduce him to the others, and Yuri tries to tell Hyuntae through gestures that he shouldn't say anything about them. After that, Hyuntae introduces himself to everyone, and Jang puts him in charge of a seminar project that will start in the future. For now, he will have to perform basic duties under an employee named Seri. Seri had already worked in Korea, so she knew a little Korean. As they were shaking hands, Yuri arrives. Hyuntae asks Yuri, Yuri Mayato, are you hungry? Hearing this, everyone present looks at him, because in Japan, only close friends can be called by their first names. She replies, it's not what you think. Jang tells him that they know each other. Then, an employee asks if he got the job because of this connection, but Yuri explains that it's just a coincidence. Coincidentally, everyone gets back to work, and Jang tells Yuri to focus. Yuri remembers what she said 5 years ago when she said that their company doesn't need people who mix business and personal life. He tells Yuri to be careful. Yuri says that even though she's the boss, if something like this happens, Jang will fire her. In the next scene, as Yuri is going home, Hyuntae calls her from behind. Yuri tells him to stop this and reminds him that Jang said that only if there are no issues, she will get a permanent position within the company. She says that Jang doesn't like people who mix work and personal affairs, so you will only talk to me about work-related matters. To this, Hyuntae says, I'm just glad I'll be able to see you daily now, and it's already past work time. Yuri tells Hyuntae, practically, we're still at work, right? Hyuntae asks, are you angry? To which she replies, yes. Hyuntae says, that means you're hungry. Let's go get something to eat. She says, we can't eat together. She gestures for him to stay there and starts to leave, but he doesn't understand her hint and comes with her. In the next scene, Hyuntae is working inside the company when one of their friends comes and gives him Korean fish. He tells him that his daughter loves this very much. Then Yuri comes in, and Hyuntae asks her if she's eaten it. Yuri says, don't bother me with all this. Now Jang, who was watching all this, tells Yuri, you've been behaving quite differently since Hyuntae came. Yuri nervously replies, no. It's nothing like that. The next day, everyone is in a meeting and Jang is explaining something when someone brings takeout for everyone. A person gives Yuri the spicy food recommended by the restaurant owner, but Hyuntae exchanges his food for Yuri's spicy food. When everyone asks, he explains that Yuri can't handle extra spicy food. Everyone looks at Yuri, who is quite awkward and tries to explain, Hyuntae always brought me food, right? I never order spicy food. That's why he knew that. By the way, Hyuntae, your memory is quite good. In the next scene, while she's on her way home, she mysteriously finds Hyuntae, who is completely drenched. Yuri asks him how he is. He takes her along. He tells her to leave, but Yuri asks her to explain right there. He tries to explain through gestures, but Yuri can't understand anything. She even tries to read his mind, but she's thinking in Korean. Finally, she arrives at his apartment, where she discovers that while grilling fish, the sprinklers flooded his apartment. The landlord explains that it will take 2 days to clean his apartment, and in the meantime, he'll have to stay somewhere else. Yuri asks him if he's going to stay at a hotel, but he says it's late, so he'll stay at his professor's house. He calls his professor, but he doesn't answer. Then he calls his lab, where his friend Duke Soo answers and tells him that the professor is away on a trip. Yuri asks what happened and he asks, do you consider your apartment to be part of the company? And then we're shown that he stays at Yuri's house, where she was making a bed for him on the floor. She kept saying to herself, I'm doing all this for my employee. While saying this, she goes to her room to sleep. Then at night, she dreams that Hyuntae came into her room at night, and he opens his shirt and starts to get close to her. Seeing this, she suddenly falls off the bed, waking up. Hyuntae knocks on the door and asks if she had a scary dream, but she says no. I just fell off the bed. Hearing this, he calls her cute. When Yuri comes out, he tells her that his dress is very wrinkled. Yuri tells him that there's no dress code in our company, so he can wear casual clothes. Then they both start brushing their teeth. He tells her that she says, thank you and hello too much. Yuri tells him, I'm a bit shy. She says thank you and hello in different languages, saying, I just realized I know more languages than I thought. Hearing this, Hyuntae looks at her cutely and says, I really like this side of you. He says, I'm not sure you know another phrase in another language. Yuri asks which one, but he doesn't tell her. After which, Yuri leaves for the company and he follows her. She says, I told you we can't go together. He replies, but we're going to the same place. She says, if we go together, it'll be a mess. Just then, a bicycle approaches and Hyuntae pulls her toward him. He says, you fell off the bed earlier and you're about to hit the bicycle. What's going on? She stops him right there and tells him, you should start walking 10 minutes after I leave and call me boss at the company. She then walks away. When she stops at a red light, Jang follows her, but she mistakes him for Hyuntae and says, I told you to not come with me. But when she sees Jang, she's shocked and says, that's not what I meant. In the next scene, she's working at the company store when she remembers that she knows the phrase I love you in Korean. Mahiro tells her, you was also thinking about Korea. So Yuri says it was just a passing thought. Their conversation now shifts to Hyuntae when Mahiro says she wants to see him because she's broken up. Yuri says, you can't do this. It's not an office romance. Siri asks, does our company have a policy that prohibits office romance? Yuri says, no, it doesn't. Common sense tells me it's wrong. Mahiro asks, are you talking about Jang because he doesn't like this? In the next scene, Yuri leaves the company with a girl when Hyuntae arrives and asks, are you on lunch break? Yuri takes him and goes behind a wall, then tells him, I've already had lunch. He then takes her somewhere and says, well, you've had lunch, so it's time for dessert. I know you haven't had lunch yet because your face looks really scary. Hearing this, she gives him a small, embarrassing actions. He asks her what Yuri means in Japanese. She replies, a person who helps others and a place where people come back. She says, my parents wanted me to be like that. Hyuntae says, that's really lovely. He thinks, if Yuri helps others, I'll be the person who helps her. Just as Yuri is about to leave, Hyuntae gestures to her and tells her to stop. Seeing this, she starts thinking, I hear his thoughts, but I can't understand something. For the first time, I don't feel bad about it. Instead, I feel very relaxed and good. On the way, Yuri comes and asks him, why did you join my company? He then says that his teacher told him about it. He then says that when he was young, his teacher used to do research at a Korean university and lived right next door to his house and spent a lot of time with him. Here, a scene from the past is shown when his teacher was with him as a child and was telling him about the otter. Then, we are shown that when his mother died 2 years ago, he felt very lonely. So the teacher asked him to come to Japan with him. The scene shifts to the present, where Yuri asks him about his father. Hyuntae tells her that his mother had divorced a long time ago, and he doesn't know anything about his father. The professor is like his father. He also says that he wasn't sure what to do after graduation. Then, the professor told him that they needed people who could disseminate research results worldwide, and he mentioned the names of companies that she's working like this, so I'm happy to join your company. Yuri says, so you have a reason to join my company too. Just then, Hyuntae gets a call from the landlord and learns that his apartment has been cleaned. Then, the two leave. Yuri, now in her room, remembers her college days when she told Jang that she thought research cannot solve environmental issues. But Jang had said that only business can solve environmental issues. Thinking about this, she says, I also have a reason for being here. Meanwhile, Hyuntae pins a note with the meaning of Yuri's name on the wall. In the next scene, Yuri has come to the hospital to meet her father. She is talking to him by reading his mind. Here, we are shown Hyuntae's professor watching them from the window. When the professor is leaving, a nurse says, you came to meet Mayatomiya, right? But you're leaving without meeting him. The professor says, he has some urgent work. From here, we are shown the entire scene. When the incident with Yuri happened, the professor was also present there. Here, when Yuri is in her room, Hyuntae is watching her through the glass door. At that moment, Yuri's phone rings. She checks it and finds that today at 7 p.m., there's a welcome party for Hyuntae. Afterward, we see a scene from the welcome party where everyone was enjoying themselves by drinking. A short while later, they get drunk, and an accident is averted. A drink splashes on Jang's face, and Jang also gets drunk. It turns out that Jang can't tolerate even a drop of alcohol, and when he gets drunk, he leaves all his belongings and leaves. Mahiro asks Hyuntae to sit next to her. Seeing this, Yuri tells everyone to go home. Hearing this, Hyuntae texts her and asks for ice cream. Yuri searches her phone and learns that if a Korean boy asks a girl for ice cream, it means he wants to spend time with her. So, Yuri leaves without replying. On the way, she gets a call from Hyuntae, who hangs up, but then he arrives and says, I found you. Come on, let's go for ice cream. Yuri refuses, saying, I'm the CEO and you're an employee. I can't be so close to just any employee. If there's a problem, you won't get a permanent position in the company. Hyun-tae says, okay, now I understand you care about me. I like your general nature. And this CEO thing too. You're really cool. Yuri overhears this and thanks him. Just then, two drunk employees from his company are leaving. Seeing this, Hyun-tae hides Yuri behind a tree. After they leave, he says, it doesn't matter to me if you're the CEO and I'm an intern. I'll only talk about work-related things at the company and I'll call you boss. Yuri thanks him again, but he says, but in return, you'll have to make time for me alone. When she asks, he says, I'm doing all this so you'll like me. Then he makes her clothes and says in her ears, then hurry up and fall in love with me. The next morning, when Yuri wakes up, she gets a message from Hyun-tae. He sends her a photo of himself making breakfast and also of his breakfast. Yuri reads all his messages, but doesn't reply to any of them. When she leaves for the company, she finds Hyun-tae, but he sneaks away. While she's in the elevator, Hyun-tae also enters the same elevator where he wasn't talking to her. Yuri starts talking to him, but he moves closer to her and says, we're at work right now, so we won't talk. He whispers in her ear that their relationship will remain a secret. As the elevator door opens, Yuri starts to come in with him, but he signals her to come back a little later and wants to go inside. Yuri stops. Just then, Jang comes in and wishes her good morning. Seeing this, she is startled and says, I'm not talking to him. You're misunderstanding. Jang tells her, what's wrong with you? I didn't say anything. He then leaves. Even in the office, Hyun-tae has been avoiding Yuri. The other employees notice this. In the next scene, Hyun-tae receives a call and passes it to Seri, but she's already on the phone and signals to Yuri to pass the call, but she's already on the phone. Just as she gets out of her cab, he passes her the phone and says that he's received a request to participate in the chocolate festival, after which we'll see them all in a meeting. Yuri tells them that this chocolate festival is an event where all the best shops are invited to participate. They receive the information 6 days before the festival, which means that some shop may have withdrawn, giving them the opportunity. Yuri says, we can join this event only on one condition. We must develop a new limited edition product, and this event will be a good opportunity for customers to notice us, so I'm accepting their offer. Here, Mahiro doubts whether she'll be able to design a new product so quickly. Yuri overhears this thought and says, if you don't have any problems, I'd like to design the product this time. Mahiro agrees and says, I'm ready to do it. I'll review old recipes for new ideas. Jang also assigns the works to all of them. Yuri then tells the two girls in the office about her new idea, but Mahiro says, it's a good idea, but it's missing a little bit of the Valentine's Day feeling. Chocolates should be such that they convey the feelings of the giver. Now, because Hyun-tae had to talk to Seri about something, so she leaves. When Yuri sees them leaving, Mahiro tells her, you care for someone too. Yuri says, I don't understand what's going on in his mind. Mahiro says, love is like chocolate. The more curious we are to know its taste, the more curious we are, the more we can't stop ourselves. To know the taste, we have to eat it. In the next scene, Hyun-tae is outside with his teacher and senior. The professor asks, are you not happy? Hyun-tae tells them, I'm in love. He's gone, but things aren't going well. I want to go to her and share my thoughts, but no matter how many times I message, she's not replying. Guk-soo asks him how often he messages, and he says every 15 minutes. The professor says, this is too pushy. He gives him the example of an octopus and suggests he should give his entire base. After listening to him, he leaves. In the next scene, Yuri is talking to her father in the hospital. Meanwhile, the professor is in the lab. He remembers what Hyun-tae said. He knows that the girl works at the same company. He opens a research file from 2011, which contains the information about the incident between Yuri and his dad. He had seen Yuri talking to his paralyzed dad in the hospital, and wonders how this could be possible. He researches about it. In the next scene, we see Yuri in her cabin where she is thinking about their new design product. Now she is hungry, and she remembers Hyun-tae's sundubu. Just then, someone knocks the door, and when she opens the door, he finds Hyun-tae at the gate, bringing her some food. He then says, we can't lose our personal feelings. Yuri says, oh, that's why you've been behaving so weird all morning. She tells him to behave normally, just like he does with other people. But Hyun-tae says, I can't behave like everyone else with you because you're special. He then gives her the flowers and leaves. On the way, he checks his messages and wonders, am I really that pushy? While Yuri is eating, she texts him, it's delicious, and thanks him. He's overjoyed to see this. He tells her the flower's name is Linares, asking her to search for its meaning. Notice my love for you, he says. I feel the same way about you. Then Yuri gets the idea for his new design, which he calls Linares. The next day, she is explaining to the company staff her idea for a new product design, which will feature edible flowers as a topping on chocolate, each with a special meaning. Everyone loves this design. Now, the day of the chocolate festival arrives. Customers are loving this language of flowers chocolate. Siri explains that it's getting a good response on social media, and she gets it packed to give to someone. She says it's a secret. After that, Hyuntai's friend Guk-soo is also there. When he arrives at the chocolate festival and asks Hyuntai to be introduced to the girl he loves, he takes him to Yuri, where Mahiro is also standing. Mahiro gives him a sample to try, and he really likes the chocolate. The next day, Yuri is in the office, feeling hungry when the door knocks. She thinks it's Hyuntai, but it's Jang who is there. He brings her a sandwich, and they share a bite. He tells her that they've set a record for the highest sales today. She says, but they still have to work even harder for Valentine's Day. He also tells her to take care of herself. Looking at the flowers she has kept, he says, they look beautiful. She tells him, someone gave them to me. Jang tells her, that means you got the idea for the language of flowers from them. She says, yes. Now, looking at Jang, it seems he likes Yuri. In the next scene, Yuri is at her home. She goes to return Hyuntai's box, where she thanks him for his dish and flowers, and also gives him credit for the success of the chocolate festival. When Hyuntai goes to drop her home, they are talking. Yuri says, it's good that you're back to normal. He says, yes, I'm not in the office right now. He then asks her if he's being pushy, but she denies it and tells him to wait. Then she brings 2 ice creams, and they both start talking while eating them. He asks her out on a date, which she accepts. Then, he teaches her how to make a Korean promise. The next morning, as Jang is on her way to the office, she sees Hyuntai at a flower shop, where he's telling the shop owner that something good happened because of the flowers he bought. He thanks him and leaves. When Jang returns, he finds Hyuntae talking about Linares flowers, and realizes that Hyuntae gave Yuri the flowers. Meanwhile, Yuri is looking lovingly at the glass otter Hyuntai gave her. Here, Sari is searching for the meaning of red flowers. As soon as Hyuntai arrives, she hides the chocolates from him. Meanwhile, we see Jang, who is also searching for the meaning of Linares flowers on the terrace. Meanwhile, Hyuntae gestures to Yuri and reminds her of the date promise he made to him. She was thinking about the promise she made, and outside, Hyuntae was teaching Sari how to play a Korean mobile game. Yuri felt jealous seeing them happily talking. As Hyuntae left, Yuri followed him. Yuri, unnoticed, entered the elevator, delighting Hyuntae. Yuri then asked him about the promise date, and they decided to go on a date on Valentine's Day evening. He asked her to make the promise. Just as she was about to make the promise, the gate to the left opened, and Jang, who was standing there, saw them. Hyuntae left, leaving Yuri and Jang with a slight awkwardness. The next day, Yuri woke up to find it was her date. As soon as she arrived at the company, she received bad news. The strawberries wouldn't be delivered on time because the farm owner's wife had a problem. She's unwell, preventing the strawberries from being harvested. Jang calls him, but he doesn't pick up, so he decides to go to the factory and check the conditions. All the employees except Hyuntae are busy with something. That's why Jang and Hyuntae go to visit the factory. Hyuntae had a date today, so he doesn't feel like visiting the factory. On the way, Hyuntae asks Jang when they'll be back. Jang tells him that it depends on the conditions there, and they'll probably be back by evening. He's happy to hear this. He texts Yuri, saying they'll be back by 7, and then they'll have dinner together. Yuri wanted to prepare chocolate for him, and she asked Mahiro for help. On the way, Hyuntae offers Jang a cookie to eat, but he refuses, saying that he avoids sugar at this time. But he puts a cookie in his mouth. He says that in Korea, we feed our picky kids like this, so he eats it too. Then, Hyuntae looks outside and starts clicking photos of snow. Jang tells him, snow is a normal thing for you, isn't it? Hyuntae says, this photo is for the person I'm sending it to. To which Jang says, I don't think she'll like all this stuff. You're approaching Mayato, isn't it? Hearing this, Hyuntae gets nervous and says, I don't even know any Mayato. In the next scene, Yuri and Mahiro are talking. Mahiro says, if you're going to dinner with him, you should definitely bring chocolate. It wouldn't be a good idea to go empty-handed, but what chocolate are you bringing? Yuri says, this is the one from our company's lineup. She says, you should give him something special, right? Hyuntae works at the company, so you should give him something preferential. Other people will also be giving Hyuntae chocolates. Then she sees Sari and tells her to be careful, otherwise someone else will snatch him from her. She then asks her if she knows Hyuntae's preferences or if there's anything she wants to give him. Yuri talks about giving flowers. Then, Yuri receives a message from Hyuntae, who says that Jang might have found out about them. In the next scene, Jang and Hyuntae are at the hospital where the farm owner's wife is admitted. It turns out that she accidentally fell and injured her head. Jang asks the owner to help him harvest the strawberries left by him, and Hyuntae at the hospital to take care of his wife. Meanwhile, Guk-soo tells the professor that he met Hyuntae's crush. The professor asks him if she's the president of the company, but he says no, she's the chocolatier there. Actually, he mistakenly thinks Mahiro is Hyuntai's crush. He starts telling the professor that she's a nice girl and makes delicious chocolate. The professor is delighted to learn that Hyuntai's crush isn't Yuri, but someone else. Just then, Guksu receives a message from Mahiro, inviting him to meet her. The professor says she'll be looking for guidance in a romantic relationship. I'm sure she also likes Hyuntai. Guksu replies, then he should tell Hyuntai about it. The professor says, he's like a Poku Pine, a very cowardly creature, so it's your job to push him. Meanwhile, Mahiro is preparing chocolate for Guksu, who texts her to meet at 9's, which makes Mahiro think it will be easy for her to win his heart. Next, we see Jang and the farm owner harvesting strawberries together. Now, the strawberries will reach the factory by 7 Kao. Just then, Hyuntae arrives with the farm owner's wife. He explains that his wife is now well and just needs some rest. The farm owner thanks Hyuntae for staying with his wife at the hospital and offers to stay for dinner, but Hyuntae refuses. The farm owner asks if they're going on a date today, as it's Valentine's Day. The farm owner's wife also insists that they definitely need to go on a date, but Hyuntae refuses, so Jang says that they'll stay. In the next scene, Yuri receives a message from Hyuntae. He says that Jang definitely knows about us. Then, she receives a call from Jang, who tells her that they have harvested the strawberries and will reach the factory on time. They will stay here tonight. He then hangs up. Then, Siri knocks on the gate and asks if Hyuntae will be back today. Yuri tells her that she just spoke with him and learned he won't be able to come. Siri asks if she called him, and Yuri says no, it was Jang who called her. Hearing this, she says she's fine and leaves. In the next scene, Jang and Hyuntae are having dinner with the farm owner and his wife. Jang is helping his wife clear away the plates when the farm owner arrives with drinks. Hyuntae explains that Jang can't drink, and he can't drink today either. The farm owner gives him tea. Upon drinking it, Jang gets drunk because a few drops of the drink got mixed in his tea. As soon as he gets drunk, Jang starts crying. He apologizes to Hyuntae, saying he doesn't have the courage. He tells the farm owner that you were worried about your wife, yet I still force you to harvest strawberries. I apologize for forcing you to harvest strawberries. He begins to talk about how loving and caring Hyuntae is, but how rude I am. He then tells Hyuntae that even though you're very nice, it doesn't mean she'll see you with romantic interest. Since he spoke in Japanese, Hyuntae couldn't understand what he meant. He asks what he meant, and Yang replies, the girl you like is romantically inclined. But just then, he falls asleep right after saying this, just as Hyuntae looks at the farm owner, who has also fallen asleep. The scene then switches to Yuri, who is in the hospital with her daughter. Dad asks, you look tired. Has something happened? Yuri denies it, and her dad says, it seems she's in love with someone, but she denies it. Dad says, you're either unable to understand your feelings, or you don't want to accept what you're feeling. Hearing this, she starts thinking about it. Meanwhile, Mahiro goes to meet Guksu, but he's a little late, for which he apologizes. Mahiro, who had been assuming he was a doctor, asks him what type of doctor he is, and he tells her he's focusing on marine biology. He asks her why she called him here, and she gives him a hint, saying her heart hasn't been beating for a few days, a hint he doesn't understand. He remembers the professor's words that his role is only to push her and point her in the right direction. He tells her not to worry, just to push herself a little more. She asks him, will I get my answer? He says, yes, and starts to leave. She gives him a Linares chocolate, for which he thanks her and says, I love your chocolates. She tells him that it's a custom product called Linares. She asks him to search for its meaning, and he says, don't you know what it means? She replies, I know. It means, please notice my love for you. He says, you don't need to worry. I guarantee Hyuntae is a very lucky boy. He says, you don't have to worry. I guarantee you, Hyuntae is a very lucky boy. He leaves. In the next scene, when Yuri is at home, she gets a call from Hyuntae. He apologizes for missing his date with Yuri. When Yuri asks him about Jang, he tells her he got drunk. Just then, Yuri's doorbell rings. When she opens the door, Hyuntae is there. She is surprised to see him and says, you were going to stay there for the night, weren't you? Hyuntae says, but a promise is a promise, isn't it? He gives her strawberries and starts to leave. Yuri asks, why are you leaving so soon? He replies, Jang is in the car right now, and he had to drop him off. Yuri says, then you should go now. Before leaving, he grabs her head and repeats in Korean, I've put a spell on you. You'll dream about me today. Hearing this, she remembers the time when Hyuntae was getting close to her. She immediately says, I won't do anything like that. Hyuntae says goodnight and leaves. The next day, while Yuri is in the office, she sees Sari giving Hyuntae chocolates. They are talking in Korean. She learns the meaning of a word that means like. This makes her wonder if Hyuntae told Sari that he likes her, and that's when Jang sees Yuri's book. He comes in and sees a box of chocolates on her desk. He says, Valentine's Day isn't your style. Yuri replies, hey, I bought this just to see. He says, you've been behaving quite differently lately. Yuri asks, how? He says, you're not the kind of person who can let emotions control you. That's why I trust you in business. Yuri completes his sentence and says, yes, I know more about business than most people. After this, Jang is seen standing on the terrace, remembering an old conversation between Yuri and Mahiro, when Yuri said she would never indulge in romance. He asks, what happened to that? Next, we see Yuri come to dinner with Hyun-tae. He asks, do you think Jang found out about us? She says, don't worry about him. He asks, what did you do yesterday? She tells him that she talked about normal things, business, work, and Mahiro. She has a crush on a guy. Hyun-tae asks if she likes anyone too, to which she laughs. Hyun-tae says, yesterday, when I was out, I was thinking about you the whole time, and you became even more adorable when I returned yesterday. Hearing this, she blushes and covers her face with her fingertips. She says, the food is really good, and the restaurant is pretty. He tells her, Siri suggested it to me. She gets a little worried, but he says, there's no need to worry. She's just my senior and already has a boyfriend whom she's been dating since high school. Yuri asks, how were those chocolates? He says, he gave them to all the employees. Hearing this, she relaxes and smiles. Hyun-tae asks, were you jealous? She denies it. If it seems that no, it is not like that at all. Then he says, why were you upset? Then he says to himself, because you love me. After that, Yuri goes to the washroom and searches for the Japanese translation of this line, then remembers her dad's talk. Either you don't understand your feelings or you don't want to accept them. After dinner, as they walk home, Hyun-tae finds her sitting on a swing. He puts a ring-like ribbon on her finger, which she had picked up from the restroom. Seeing this, Yuri says to herself, I am fully aware of my feelings. I know why I was jealous of Sari. Hyun-tae also thinks to herself, I wish one day I could give him a real ring. Yuri thinks, I'm curious about what's going on in his heart. Hyun-tae asks, is this romantic? Yuri says to herself, I've fallen in love with this boy. She gives him the Linares chocolate and starts to leave, but he doesn't. He holds her hand and says to himself, Yuri keeps putting her hand on her ear. Then he remembers a time from his childhood when a girl was telling him a story from a picture book, which we saw at the beginning of his drama. In that story, the girl could hear what others were thinking by putting her hand on her ear. That's why Hyun-tae thinks that girl resembles Yuri. The next morning, when Yuri wakes up, she remembers that Hyun-tae called her Nuna in her mind yesterday. As she goes to the office, she sees Kame and Sari watching a Korean drama in which the word Nuna is appearing. She also slowly comes there and stands behind them, watching. She realizes that Nuna means elder sister. Just then, it's time for their meeting. At the meeting, they learn that their chocolate festival was a success and their sales record was broken. Jang tells them that there's a seminar next week, which will be held at their company's office. The seminar will also focus on the philosophy of environmental issues. Since Hyun-tae had considerable knowledge about environmental issues, he puts him in charge of the seminar. Since the seminar was to be held at his college, Hyun-tae suggests bringing environmentally related items for the students to smell or taste. Yuri suggests bringing road-strewn cocoa beans. After the meeting, Yuri goes to his cabin and searches for the meaning of the word Nuna. Meanwhile, Hyun-tae opens the chocolate Yuri gave him and becomes overjoyed. He thinks, I am special to Yuri. Just then, he receives a call from Guksu. He says, let me know if you need any help. Hyun-tae asks him to check the animal parts. Duksu is here, and he tells him, your crush gave me chocolates, so thank him for that. This leaves him confused. Here, Yuri was watching a video where someone explained that this word, Nuna, is often used by women and girls, and that it doesn't represent romantic interest. Hearing this, she starts to think that it means Hyun-tae doesn't see her in a romantic way. A little while later, while she's bringing boxes, she hears Hyun-tae's voice asking all his colleagues, have you eaten? Yuri thinks that Hyun-tae asks everyone this because he feels like she's special to him. She searches again to find out what it means in Korean if someone asks, have you eaten? She finds a video of the same boy, in which he explains that many girls think that if someone asks them, have you eaten? They're asking for a date. However, in Korean, asking this question is completely normal, as if someone is asking about their well-being. Yuri finds the person's question here. He also finds videos in which he explains the meaning of the word joha and says that joha doesn't mean love at all, but sarangi means love. Yuri then spots Jang, startling her. He tells her, I knocked, but you didn't hear me, so I came in. He says that Hyun-tae's internship is about to end, and I'm thinking that if Hyun-tae handles tomorrow's seminar well, he'll be given a permanent position. He asks, what do you think about that? She asks, what does Hyun-tae want? Jang replies, he wants a permanent position. Yuri says, okay, then let's do that. Jang asks, what do you want? Yuri then remembers what Jang had said, I trust you because you have control over your emotions. Yuri tells him, you should give him a permanent position based on his skills. Next, we see Hyun-tae arrive at the restaurant with his colleagues. There, he learns that Yuri has been waiting for this seminar for a long time. All the seminars held so far have focused on the taste of chocolate, but now, for the first time, people will discuss their philosophy, how they make chocolate from cocoa husks, and how their company will be recognized for its specialty. Jang has been waiting for this moment. Hyun-tae asks how the topic shifted from Yuri to Jang, then explains that Jang's life purpose is to fulfill Yuri's dream, and Jang is special to Yuri. Hearing this, he stands up and says, "I remembered something and I'm going back to the office." As soon as he reaches the office, Yuri is not at her desk. Jang tells him that Yuri is out. Hearing this, he asks, "What's going on? Are you special to Yuri?" He can't understand this, so Hyun-tae leaves and goes to his university. At the university, Yuri and Mahiro are also there to check out the seminar spot. When Hyun-tae sees the Linares chocolates on Duk-soo's desk, he thanks his professor for arranging the seminar room. When the professor asks him how things are with that girl, he replies, "I'm not special to her." Yuri also tells Mahiro that Hyun-tae doesn't see her as a romantic partner. Hearing this, she suggests asking Hyun-tae directly. Yuri asks, "Do you think I can ask him this directly?" She replies, "Do you want to react?" Here, Duk-soo tells Hyun-tae that he's misunderstanding, but Hyun-tae replies, "No, I'm right. She gave me the same chocolates. I know." She feels that there's someone else special in her feelingless life. Here, Yuri tells Mahiro, "I'm afraid Hyun-tae doesn't like me." Hyun-tae says that Jang is special to him, and maybe she likes him. As Mahiro and Yuri are leaving the university, they meet Guk-soo, who tells them that Hyun-tae came to see the tank. Hearing this, she encourages Yuri to go there. Yuri leaves. Guk-soo tells Mahiro that she should go, but she asks, "What are you doing here?" He replies, "I'm just here to return books." She replies, "So you're not a doctor." As Yuri approaches the coral tank, she finds the professor there, who tells her that Hyun-tae has already left. Mahiro is in the library with Guk-soo and asks him, "Why didn't you become a vet?" He says, "I couldn't handle blood, but research requires dealing with blood, and now my fear is gone since I learned the reason for blood flow." Mahiro says, "You could have become a vet, right?" He replies, "Yes, maybe, but I still chose research because I like it." Mahiro asks him, "Do you know why I invited you on Valentine's Day?" He says, "Yes, I know. I won't do anything that would disturb you." Then we see Yuri, who arrives at the same place where she came with Hyun-tae. She is about to message him when she receives a message from him. He says he has prepared for the seminar. Yuri calls him, and they begin talking. She tells him she's at the same park. Hyun-tae tells her to wait there, and then he comes himself and says, "You're waiting for me. You wanted to meet me." She blushes upon hearing this. They were walking together when they came across stairs. Hyun-tae overtakes Yuri. She tries to stop him. He tells her that she's short, but she replies, "I'm not short. I'm normal." Yuri then takes a step ahead of Hyun-tae and says, "Look, now I'm equal." Seeing this, he calls her cute, holds her hand, and asks, "Has your heart been beating for a few days? Because the same thing is happening to me?" Yuri replies, "Why are you asking me this?" He replies, "You don't know," walks over to her and kisses her, saying, "Now maybe you know." Meanwhile, he says to himself, "I love you," to which Yuri replies, "I do too." Then she realizes that she said it out loud, so she apologizes and quickly leaves. In the next scene, the seminar begins and Hyun-tae gives a speech. Afterward, Mahiro roasts cacao beans and explains. The professor asks Guk-soo if she's the girl Hyun-tae likes. He says yes. Jang and Yuri are watching from the back. Yuri thanks Jang. Jang asks her to hire Hyun-tae officially. From here, we see a scene from the night before, where Jang is sitting at his desk, looking at an old photo, then getting ready to leave. Yuri comes and thanks him again. As he leaves, he tells her, "I want to make it clear that there's no ban on office romances in our company." Saying this, he looks at Yuri, and she is about to explain. But he says, "I'm clearly looking at you," who looks sad as he says this. He thinks to himself, "I've always liked you," which Yuri overhears. Then he leaves, leaving Yuri alone. Yuri thinks, "I thought I knew what was in people's hearts." Then she's thinking about the same thing as she goes home. Hyun-tae, who is waiting for her, is standing in front of the apartment, telling Yuri, "I want to be special to you," and asks, "How do you feel about Jang?" She doesn't respond. Hyun-tae asks, "Do you like him?" Hearing this, Yuri starts to go inside. Hyun-tae says, "Why do you always run away? I love you. Do you love me too?" Yuri refuses and leaves, saying sorry. Hearing this, Hyun-tae feels bad and leaves. The next day, Hyun-tae is officially assigned a permanent position in the company, but he is saddened by what happened yesterday, something that Jang also notices. As the meeting begins, they were supposed to visit Hakone for a business networking event. Jang and Yuri are in charge of the event, and Seri and Kame are inside as backups because their investors were also from Korea. Jang asks Hyuntae to join as well, and the meeting is over. In the next scene, Yuri tells Mahiro that she has dumped him. She says, "I thought you were going to confess your feelings to him." Then Yuri remembers Jang's thoughts. She tells Mahiro, "I'm not mentally stable right now." Mahiro asks what's the matter. She replies, "I'm just a little confused right now." Hearing this, Mahiro replies, "Then the Hakone trip is going to be hell for you." The scene then switches to Hyuntae, who is eating dinner in his uniform and remembering what he had talked to Yuri about yesterday. Here, Yuri is with her dad. She tells him about the Hakone trip, and we learn that Hakone is the same place where Yuri had her accident. Her dad asks, "Are you scared?" Yuri says, "Yes, but now it's been 12 years since the accident." Dad tells her to save the journey. The next day, Yuri is at the airport. Just then, she receives a call from Seri, who reveals that she has urgent work and will be unable to attend the event. Jang also receives a call from Kame, who informs him that he missed the spray on his neck, making him unable to attend. Hyuntae joins them. Then we are shown a scene from the networking event. Minha was also there, and it's the same girl. She tells Hyuntae the story of the telepathic girl in his childhood, and we learn that she also has mind-reading powers. After the event is over, Jang is giving Hyuntae instructions for the next day. Hyuntae asks him if he does things in Japan with people who are very perceptive. This confuses Jang. He takes Hyuntae to a corner and asks him about Yuri and him. Hyuntae tells him that Yuri has doomed me, and I know the reason. There's a special relationship between the two of you. Jang tells him, "No, there's nothing like that. You're misunderstanding." Hyuntae replies that Yuri thinks so and asks Jang, "Tell me, do you think you like her?" Jang doesn't say anything, but Yuri arrives. Hyuntae asks him, "Why aren't you answering? Is there a special relationship between you?" Jang tells him to calm down. Yuri asks what happened, to which Jang replies, "Nothing. We were just talking about work." Then he takes Hyuntae to another location. In the next scene, the professor receives a message from Hyuntae saying, "I'm not in love anymore." Hearing this, the professor becomes upset. He shows this message to Guksu, who says, "There's no need to worry. They work together, and they have a lot of chances to talk to each other." The professor says, "He's not as strong as you think." He tells Guksu to convince the girl, so he messages Mahiro to meet him. Here, the three of them are driving to the hotel, where no one is talking. Jang starts the conversation saying, "The road is too long. Out of so many hotels, why did we book the farthest one?" Yuri asks, the same thing. Hyuntae then says, "I booked the hotel." Hearing this, Jang replies, "Yes, sometimes we should book a hotel further away. It's in the middle of nature, and the scenery is beautiful." Yuri agrees. Hyuntae then asks Yuri if my presence here bothers her, but Yuri replies, No, it's nothing like that." Jang tells him that Yuri is tired and always feels uncomfortable in crowded places, to which Yuri also agrees. Hyuntae says, "It seems you know everything about her." Then, saddened, he puts on his earphones. Jang says, "What kind of situation is this?" In the next scene, Guksu and Mahiro meet at a restaurant, where Guksu discovers that Mahiro isn't the girl Hyuntae likes, it's Yuri. He says, "That means everything I did was meaningless." But Mahiro says, "No, it was meaningful, because this is what allowed us to meet each other." He asks, "Then what's meaningful about this?" He starts to leave, but she stops him with her foot, motions for him to sit down again. Then she tells him, "Have you forgotten what happened on Valentine's Day?" Guksu asks, "Why did you give me the Linares chocolate?" Mahiro tells him, "Think about it yourself." Meanwhile, Yuri finds a book on listening to inner voices on the hotel's bookshelf, and she reads it. She was looking at the book when the waiter came and told her about it. It said that this power suddenly comes into someone. After that, the two were having dinner, where the waiter asked them about her. Yuri then explained that Jang was a classmate of mine from university. The waiter said, "You guys are doing business together, so you must be like family." Seeing them like this, poor Hyuntae felt quite lonely. Then Jang told the waiter that they were just business founders, nothing more. The waiter said, "That's very impressive. Destiny has connected you two so closely." Hearing this, Hyuntae says, "There's a special relationship between the two of you." Jang says, "But I'm not the person Yuri needs." Then he apologizes because he was drunk. Upon seeing this, Hyuntae asks the waiter and discovers that they had mixed some wine in the food. Seeing this, Hyuntae carries Jang into the room, and Yuri covers him. When she starts leaving, he sleepily tells Yuri, "Sorry, it's all my fault. I just wanted a good relationship between the two of you." Here, when Guksu arrives at the lab, the professor asks him, "Did you convince that girl?" He replies, "There was a misunderstanding. Hyuntae's crush isn't Mahiro, but the company's president, Yuri." Hearing this, the professor pulls out his diary and looks back at the information about the incident from 12 years ago. The next day, they have an evening party where Jang is talking to Minha. He introduces Hyuntae to Minha, and they exchange business cards. As soon as he sees the name on the card, he remembers Minha, but by the time he can say anything to her, she's already gone. Now when Jang and Yuri are leaving for their flight, Hyuntae isn't there. Jang tells her that Hyuntae won't be returning today. He's gone to Monte Kita, after which we see her on the Monte Kita top, where Hyuntae notices her from upstairs. He asks her what she's doing there, and she says, "I came to see you." When he asks, she replies, "Because I couldn't go back, I haven't told you how I feel about you." Hyuntae repeats old incidents. He asks her if she likes rice and asks her about many of her favorite things, to which she says yes. Then, he finally asks her, "Do you like me?" She then loudly declares, "I like you very much. I love you so much," to which Hyuntae replies, "I love you too." They both happily hug and kiss each other. Here, after searching a lot, the professor discovers the mind-reading ability. In the next scene, Yuri wakes up to the sound of her phone ringing because she received a call from Hyuntae. He tells her to open the gate. Her hair is messy, so she covers it and opens the door. She asks why he's come now. He says, "I'm here to deliver breakfast. We're lovers now, right? That's why I'm coming in." Yuri replies, "You made breakfast for me?" Hyuntae says, "I'd do anything for my lover." He makes Yuri sit on a chair and repeats, "We're lovers." Yuri says, "Yes." He says, "That's what I wanted to hear." Yuri asks if he wants to spend an entire day with her. He says, "Yes." He asks, "Shall we visit Korea?" Yuri says, "We should plan ahead, but I'd definitely like to visit your hometown one day." So Hyuntae tells her about his hometown and uncovers Yuri's hair, which he finds quite beautiful. In the next scene, Yuri is in the office. She sees Jang and remembers Jang's role in this relationship. Yuri goes to him, where he gives her several samples from a business trip to check. He tells her to complete them by afternoon. He even offers to adjust the workload if it feels too much, but she says, "No, I'll finish it by noon." She was about to leave with the samples, but Sari interrupted and spilled them. Hyuntae comes to help. When Jang sees them, he smiles, thinking they're back together again. In the next scene, Hyuntae is at a restaurant with his colleagues. He sends Yuri a photo of food. Siri sees a heart on his phone and asks, "Have you got a girlfriend?" Hyuntae initially denies it, but then agrees. Then he asks Sari about famous dating spots in Japan, and she suggests a hot spring. After that, when Yuri gets ready for the date, Hyuntae arrives and asks her to go to the hot spring. They both arrive at the hot spring, where Hyuntae asks Yuri to pick up a Japanese bathrobe. Meanwhile, Mahiro, who had been shopping, had really liked a pair of shoes. She wanted to try them on and meet Guksu, but he refused because he was at the beach for research work. So, she goes there herself to meet him. Her shoes were useless there. Guksu had come there to collect seashells. Mahiro had to search for them with him, wearing leather boots. Meanwhile, Yuri and Hyuntae had put on their dresses, but Hyuntae wasn't wearing them properly, exposing her chest. Seeing this, Yuri starts feeling shy and fixes his dress. Then Hyuntae tells her to pop up. Yuri didn't know the meaning of this word. When Yuri searches it, she finds out what it means. Seeing this, she forbids him from asking her about it in public. Both of them are now inside the bathroom, where Hyuntae starts feeling very hot. He rolls up his sleeves further, which Yuri finds quite addictive, so she rolls down his sleeves. Just then, Yuri sees Sari there. Both of them hide and quickly get out of there. After coming out, Yuri tells him to leave. Then Hyuntae makes a cute style of covering her head with a towel, and both of them take a selfie. But Sari also comes there, seeing whom Yuri hides behind Hyuntae. Seeing him, Sari says, "Hey, I didn't tell you this hot spring." He also says hi to Hyuntae's girlfriend here. Yuri, who had completely covered her face, Hyuntae explains, "My girlfriend is very shy." He then takes Yuri away. Meanwhile, Mahiro, who was getting irritated while collecting sea slug, asks Guksu, "Did you understand the meaning of my chocolates?" He says, "Everything you do confuses me. You're very unpredictable." Mahiro says to herself, "I should have told you this." She goes to Guksu, takes his hand, kisses him right there, and asks, "Did this clarify anything?" Seeing this, the poor man is quite surprised and says, "I'll choose to forget it. Anyway, our lips are touching." Their cells are replaced in 6 weeks. Mahiro asks, "What's your problem?" "Do you know how I feel about you?" He says, "I don't know." She replies, "I love you. Doesn't it seem obvious to you?" He is shocked. Meanwhile, Hyuntae and Yuri are walking, where Hyuntae says, "I want to kiss you." Yuri, now that she knows the meaning of the word pop pop, feels shy. When Hyuntae approaches her, he kisses her. Just then, Yuri receives a call from Mahiro, who tells her that the doctor rejected her. In the next scene, Mahiro arrives at Yuri's house, where she explains that this is her first rejection. She asks Yuri if she's ever been rejected by anyone. Perhaps it was her high school ex, to which Yuri replies, "Yes." Mahiro asks why she rejected him, but Yuri doesn't. When she doesn't tell her anything, Mahiro says, "If you don't want to tell me, I won't force you." Yuri apologizes, but Mahiro says, "You always avoid sensitive topics, as if something is burdening you. I hope one day you'll share your burden with me." But then she gets emotional and says, "Maybe I said too much. You'll never share your secrets with me." She starts to leave. Then Yuri reveals her secret to her. She says, "I can read others' inner thoughts." At first, Mahiro doesn't believe her, but Yuri demonstrates reading her mind, which surprises her. She asks her how long she's had these powers. She tells her, long before we met. Mahiro says to herself, this is very terrifying. Hearing this, Yuri remembers her ex-boyfriend, who rejected her with the same words. Mahiro leaves without saying a word and goes home. The next day, when Hyuntae was in the lab, Guksu hadn't arrived. The professor confirms with Hyuntae whether the girl he likes is the company president. Hyuntae explains that now, we've become lovers, and today is our 4th day. Upon hearing this, the professor says, I can't allow it. Hyuntae asks, why? The professor replies, she's hiding something from you. I'm requesting you to reconsider your relationship. You're like my son. But Hyuntae says, I'm going home now. In the next scene, everyone is inside the company. Yuri approaches Mahiro, but she ignores her, so Yuri goes back to her cabin. This thing is noticed by Hyuntae. After that, he was waiting outside for Yuri. When Yuri arrives, he offers to go home with her. While she's walking with him, she's quite distracted. He asks, why are you feeling so down? Share it with me. I'll share my energy with you. Yuri replies, Mahiro and I. Then Hyuntae asks, did you have a fight? She replies, no, it wasn't that extreme. Hyuntae asks, so what? You told her everything you had in your heart. She says, it's hard to convince you. Hyuntae says that the minds of human beings can't be read anyway, but you were honest with me. You told me you liked me, and that made me very happy. Yuri says, I was honest with you only because you were with me too. He replies, Mahiro is always honest with you. He holds Yuri and says to himself, don't worry, I'm with you. He then says, we'll have dinner tomorrow. Then he sends Yuri to Mahiro. She goes to Mahiro and says, sorry, I scared you yesterday. But she says, I should be sorry. I hurt you. Yuri replies, no, it's my fault. Mahiro says, you always take the blame because you're so considerate of others. Yuri says, no, you're wrong. I hid it from you because I was afraid you'd leave me. You're my best friend. That's why I didn't tell you. Mahiro says, this shows you're the same Yuri, and you treasure me. You must not have told Hyuntae this yet. And in life, a friend and a lover have different roles, so I'll protect you. In the next scene, she tells this to her dad, and dad says, I'm happy for you. She then tells him, I'm in love, and now we're officially together. Dad congratulates her. After that, as Yuri is going to her house, Hyuntae is standing at the gate. He has brought dinner for her. He asks Yuri how her dad is doing, and she says he's fine. They both go and have dinner together, where Hyuntae has brought her favorite dish. Yuri tells him about her dad's condition, and says he hasn't changed at all. He's a very optimistic person, and she loves him very much. As she goes to get the salad dressing, Hyuntae gets a call from the professor, who tells him to pick him up immediately. He calls him. As soon as he reaches him, the professor says, I want to tell you something. He says, 12 years ago, when I went to Mount Kida on field work, I witnessed an accident. Someone jumped into the sea to save a sea otter. The girl was Yuri. Her father also jumped into the sea to save her, leaving him completely paralyzed. This incident moved me deeply, and I'm going to visit her father so I know who Yuri is. Your girlfriend is a very kind and wonderful girl, but she has a secret she hasn't told you. Therefore, as a father, I advise you to break up with her. In the next scene, Jang receives an international courier call from Minha, who is offering to invest in their company and help them. She offers to do it and says they'll come to Japan next week to discuss it. Meanwhile, Yuri sees the professor coming out of her dad's hospital room. She goes inside and asks her dad if he knows him. Dad first tells her to sit down and then tells her everything the professor said. He says, the professor once saw you talking to me and he knows you can hear people's inner thoughts. There's someone else who knows about your power, and that person is Hyuntae. On the other side, we see Hyuntae also reading the picture book. Here we're shown a scene from a day earlier. When the professor gives him the book to read, he says, I don't need it. I know her secret, but I've decided that I'll always love Yuri. The professor asks, do you know how the story ends in the book? The scene now returns to the present, where Hyuntae has read the entire book, and here Yuri can't believe it, that Hyuntae knows her secret. Dad says that Hyuntae knew about your secret even before the professor told him. The professor told me to break up with you two, otherwise horrible things will happen to you two. Yuri says that she doesn't believe Hyuntae knows about her powers, but Dad says that he probably knows, but is hiding it for some reason. The next day, Yuri tells Mahiro everything. Yuri says that what bothers her the most is that if Hyuntae knows her secret, why did he keep it from me? To find out, Mahiro tells Yuri the plan. Reschedule Hyuntae and call him for check-in today. Then, whatever he's saying in his mind, you send it to me. I'll translate it and find out. Yuri is hesitant about this, but Mahiro motivates her. In the next scene, Hyuntae comes for check-in. It happens where Yuri asks him if a dog and a sea otter are friends. The sea otter had a secret that the dog knew, but they kept it a secret. He wonders if he were that dog, and how would he feel? He wonders if a sea otter lives in the sea, so how could he be friends with a dog? Yuri relays a Korean sentence to Mahiro. When she tries to translate it, a mispronunciation translates it as, send him away. This plan fails, so Yuri tells Mahiro that her check-in is over. In the next scene, Jang, who has come to meet Minha, is about to leave. When Jang invites her to visit the office and asks her to meet Yuri, meanwhile, Mahiro and Yuri are talking to each other through gestures. She then suggests inviting Hyuntae to a sleepover for the next plan, when Minha enters their office. She sees Yuri with her hand over her ear and begins to hear Yuri's thoughts, asking herself, Hyuntae, do you really know my powers? Minha realizes that she has the same powers. She tells Jang, I'll come back some other time, and leaves without meeting Yuri. Meanwhile, Mahiro had come to the lab to meet Professor Ma. Guksu tells her that he hasn't been there since yesterday. She starts to leave, but he stops her and says, This is my workplace. Don't you want to know about me? In the next scene, Yuri is waiting for Hyuntae. Mahiro texts her that the professor is out of campus. Hyuntae also comes out, and Yuri asks him to go to her house for a date. He says, That's great, and they leave. We then see Minha listening to their conversation. Meanwhile, Mahiro stays in the lab with Guksu, where she tells him about her research. When Mahiro asks him about an official relationship again, he tells her that he needs information before taking action. Mahiro says that until you date, how will you know about our chemistry? He says, You're right. Adapting to changes is essential for survival. Hearing this, she is delighted and starts to hug him, but he immediately steps aside. Meanwhile, Yuri and Hyuntae are dating at home. Yuri is cooking. He takes a selfie with her, where Yuri says that she hasn't cooked in a long time, so it will take time. Now they are sitting together having dinner, where he is about to kiss her, but then he remembers something and goes out to get something. Yuri remembers that Mahiro told her that he can't resist these cuddle times, and at this time, he answers any question. Yuri now imagines Hyuntae proposing to her with a ring and a flower. Just then, Hyuntae arrives. He had brought couple pajamas. They are walking on the couch wearing them. Yuri asks him about books, and he tells her he loves the time travel genre. Yuri asks him if he would like to go to the future or the past, but he says he likes the present more. Then she asks him about superpowers, and while she's asking about mind reading, he says, I have to go soon, and he leaves. The next day, Yuri is at the company where Jang tells her about the new investor who saved the company. He gives her the document and leaves. Yuri opens the document and sees the name Minha. She remembers that she is also the writer of the picture book, and that her business card was also in Hyuntae's book, and wonders if they know each other. After which, Minha meets Hyuntae and asks him if he knows that Yuri also has powers like me. Hyuntae learns and says yes. Minha is now very concerned for him. She says, You know how the story of this book ends? You both should separate. But Hyuntae says that no matter what happens, he will not separate from Yuri, and leaves. Meanwhile, Yuri is with her dad, where she says, I don't know what Hyuntae thinks or feels for me. Her dad says, It's a cult to know someone completely, but one thing is for sure, he truly loves you, and I'm excited about that. After Hyuntae leaves, Minha goes to his office, where she says to herself, I'm doing this for your own good. Minha had to return to Korea for some work, so she came to give Yuri a gift, but Yuri wasn't in the office. Jang tells Minha, If you want, I'll hand it over to Yuri. She gives Jang the same picture book and says, This is my life story, and whatever happened at the end of this story happened between me and my lover. I want both of them not to do what we did. After that, Jang goes to Yuri's house, where he gives her the picture book and tells her everything about Minha. Yuri says, that meaning, this is a true story. She watches the story's conclusion and learns that the girl's lover dies. Jang says, At first, I couldn't believe what Minha was saying. I researched it and even took Sari's help. It turns out that Minha was dating a fellow university student who died during his student days, which makes Yuri realize that Hyuntae knows everything. In the next scene, Yuri is sitting on a swing, thinking about Hyuntae, remembering the times he spent with her. Then she goes to his apartment and says, I missed you so much. He takes her inside, where she asks him out for dinner, and Hyuntae says, Yes, we'll talk about that. After that, he's heating up a dish for her, and Yuri says, You know, since I met you, my life has changed so much. I've understood what it means to be in love. It's a wonderful feeling, and I've discovered that I too have such colorful emotions. She thanks him for that, and then says, Hyuntae, I love you so much, that's why we have to separate. Hearing this, Hyuntae asks her the reason, whereupon he asks in Japanese, Have you realized? Yuri overhears this, and with a hand on her ear says, Yes. Hyuntae then holds her hand and says, It doesn't matter to me, I really love you. Yuri removes his hand from hers and starts to leave. Hyuntae, awakened in her mind, says, Don't go, to which Yuri says, Thank you, and leaves. She goes outside and searches for the meaning of this term, which means don't go. Seeing this, she starts crying and goes home. As Yuri was leaving, she nearly had a bike accident, but Hyuntae comes and saves her. Yuri says, It's all my fault, Hyuntae. He says it's not her fault. Yuri thanks him, and Hyuntae says he'll drop her home. Yuri refuses, but he doesn't agree. On the way, he tells her, You get scared very easily, and I like that. Yuri says, This is just one of my shortcomings. I have many other shortcomings. Hyuntae replies, Yes, like your face looks really scary. Yuri replies, Yes, It happens when I'm hungry. Just then, Yuri comes home and he jokes, "You treat me like a dog, and your drawings of sea otter are so terrible." Hearing this, Yuri laughs and says, "You shouldn't throw away any more drawings. They're so embarrassing." Then she sadly thanks him and leaves, and she begins to remember her initial moments with Hyuntae. The next day, Yuri receives Hyuntae's resignation letter. From there, we see Hyuntae in Seoul, and we see Hyuntae's conversation with his professor, where he tells the professor, "I'm going back to Korea because Miss Yuri also found out the ending of the picture book, and if anything happens to me, she'll blame herself. I hope she'll understand." Hyuntae was wandering the streets of Seoul, missing Yuri a lot. Yuri, on the other hand, was also missing him, and now she's busy with office work. Jang was observing her. Mahiro comes to Jang and tells him that Yuri has suffered a lot because of her powers. Jang tells her that her powers have benefited all of us and the company a lot. Mahiro says that now that Hyuntae has broken up with her, she will never be able to love anyone, as long as Yuri still has the powers. Mahiro reminds Jang that today is the company's 9th anniversary, a special day for the three of them. From here, we see the three of them celebrating, where Mahiro has made delicious chocolate. Then Jang asks Hyuntae to try the power removal trick mentioned in the picture book. Yuri says, "I've already tried the trick with my dad, but it didn't work." Jang says, "That means this part isn't correct, and if this power goes away, you can be with Hyuntae." Yuri shakes her head. Mahiro says, "Don't be sad. Jang and I will protect you." He jokingly asks her, "When did I ever agree to this?" Mahiro replies, "It's your job." Yuri starts laughing. In the next scene, Jang is sitting at his desk, where it's night. He calls Minha and asks about the trick in the picture book. She explains that the trick is a hop that she learned from the Ino legend in Hokkaido, but her boyfriend had already died, so she couldn't try the trick with him. In the next scene, Mahiro is inside the lab. She had sent Guksu numerous messages, but he hadn't replied to any of them. She enters the lab and asks about the Ion legend, because their lab is researching the Hokkaido animal, where these legends were found. The professor explains that it wasn't my research topic, but when I went to Hokkaido to research, I read these stories, and I must have some literature. He finds and brings them back. Mahiro checks the book, and inside it, the 33-second trick is mentioned. Mahiro asks the professor if he might have more information. She asks him to think about it. Then Guksu remembers something and goes and retrieves some papers, which were supposedly reference material for the Ain language, which Guksu had hidden because the professor used to make him translate books. Mahiro asks him to translate it too, and he says, "This isn't my field of expertise," but she makes him do it anyway. She then calls Yuri and tells him that the 33-second trick must be performed under a star sky. Doing so will cause her to lose her powers. Yuri is now rereading the picture book and sees a photo of her dad. Meanwhile, Mahiro is inside the lab with Guksu, where she tells Guksu, "I knew I could depend on you," and says, "But you never say what I want you to say." He asks if the parrot speaks or nothing. He then starts saying, "There are 10 people on our planet. There are 1,000,000 different creatures. Our species is one of them, and out of all these species, I like ours the most." Hearing this, Mahiro asks, "What do you mean?" Guksu replies, "In this world, I am only attracted to you." Hearing this, she becomes happy. She goes to Guksu to kiss him, but he doesn't understand. Mahiro says, "You need to work on this even more." Guksu asks, "Were you thinking about lip touching?" Mahiro replies, "That sounds so weird to say, and how could I fall in love with you, knowing what kind of person you are?" Then Guksu hugs her and says, "I love you." She becomes very happy and says, "Finally, you told me." They were about to kiss, but the professor's humidity alarm stops them. In the next scene, Yuri is with her father, where he says, "There's no need to hide your feelings. I'm so happy that I'm your father." He asks Yuri to hold his hand, where Yuri takes his hand and thanks his dad. On the other side, we see Hyuntae, who was standing on a bridge in Seoul. Just then, Jang arrives and says, "Sorry for calling you." He asks, "What are you doing in Seoul?" He says, "I've come to finalize the contract with Minha, and I haven't accepted your resignation letter because you didn't sign it." Hyuntae takes the letter and asks Jang, "Why did you come to Seoul without informing me?" He says, "Because I can't live with Miss Yuri." Jang then gives Hyuntae the ticket and receipt, telling him, "You're still an employee of the company, and this is a company order." Then he leaves. Yuri is arriving when they both come face to face. Yuri hugs him tightly and starts crying. She says, "I missed you so much." Hyuntae hugs her back and says, "I missed you so much too." Yuri says, "Let me tell you something. I can hear your thoughts, but I didn't tell you because I was so scared." Hyuntae says, "Yes, I know that you get scared." She then starts abusing him again and says, "I love you so much. I always want to be with you, and I never want to be away from you." Hyuntae says, "I love you so much too." Then we see them on the terrace, sitting across from each other, ready for the 33-second trick. As the timer starts, Yuri says, I want to know when I first met you. How did you feel? He recalls the meeting when Yuri got angry at him. He says to himself, you had a scary look on your face in that meeting. He remembers the meeting afterward and says, but I fell in love with you. He keeps thinking about old memories. Then he hugs Yuri and says, I don't want this. Please don't take away this power. The Yuri I fell in love with is the Yuri I have now. I want to be with you the way you are. I can't hear your inner thoughts, but I know how you feel. I want to know more about you. Hearing this, Yuri tells him, I love you. He says, I love you too. Then they kiss. From here, we are shown a scene a year later, where the company's palace was quite normal. Jang receives a message from Minha. We are shown a past scene in which Jang told Miss Minha that her boyfriend had a heart disease that caused his death. Her boyfriend had this disease before they met. It's not her fault, meaning her boyfriend's death wasn't due to her powers. In the present, when Jang checks her messages, she tells him about her business plans for next year, to which he replies. Their bond also improves significantly, as she suggests she give herself another chance and try falling in love with someone else. On the other side, Yuri and Hyuntae are on a date. During dinner, Hyuntae gives Yuri a ring, a glass ring that resembles a sea otter. We then see Hyuntae, Yuri's dad, and Yuri together, where everyone gets along very well. The professor also visits Yuri's dad to talk to him whenever he has time. Now, Guk-soo and Mahiro's relationship was also going well. She was in the lab with him when she found a locket inside the fish tank. Guk-soo gave her a tool to remove it. As she did, she discovered a ring inside the locket. Guk-soo explained that it was made of rust-resistant titanium, so she didn't need to take it off while working. She was surprised by his unique proposal. Guk-soo replied, I spent 773 yen on it. She then accepted. Hyuntae took Yuri to his old house, where he lived as a child, and said, you wanted to know about me, right? Yuri replied, yes, because I love you. Hyuntae whispered, I love you, to her in his mind. Since Hyuntae couldn't hear her thoughts, they both started shouting, I love you, and the drama ended with this happy ending.